Welcome to Dribbling Around Playoff Edition. Yeah, clap it up, boys. We did it. We finally made it to the playoffs. Oh, my goodness. I never thought we would be here. It's been so long. You know, we left college, and I'm finally here. I can't believe it. Oh, my goodness. Moment of silence to start the show. The Phoenix Suns, 8-0, undefeated in the bubble, but did not make the playoffs. Moment of silence.
The closet Suns fan of me is absolutely devastated, especially after Memphis didn't win. And granted, they put up a good fight. I thought it was going to be a blowout early on, but I still wanted to see Phoenix and that 9 seed playing Portland. I still think we would have gotten an even better game. But it's just the future is bright for this Suns team.
Super bright.
Monty Williams, man. Devin Booker, first team all NBA bubble. Shout out Dame Lillard for getting MVP. He deserved that. But, yeah, man, that was a nice moment of silence. And shout out to the Suns social media team. They were great all bubble, and we wish them the best. And unfortunately, we were not able to make their memorial services. But, it's tough.
May their 2020 season playoff hopes rest in peace, and we will see you again.
Hopefully they will revive in 2021. It's been a long road for Phoenix ever since Steve Nash going out to the clubs with the sweet hair and Amari Stoudemire throwing it down. It's been a long road for Phoenix, but fortunately we can't pick them in the playoffs, but it's playoff basketball, so we're excited anyway. We're excited.
Playoff basketball indeed, and we got to get into this first round. I think we're just going to go straight into it. We're going to talk about the West first, and then we're going to
go into the East. Scoring system? Should we explain our scoring system?
I think we should run through this first. So we're doing dribbling around picks. All right. So what we're doing here, we're going to get a lot of these guys that we've talked to on our show on dribbling around, our Skylar Sinans and Lena Spellmans and George Sikoriaks of the world and Grace Cannons, hopefully, and get everybody in here and we see who is the best of these icy basketball players that see who they know the most, and maybe they can beat us. I doubt it though, because we're just top echelon. We're top notch over here.
I don't think anyone's stopping me after like a nice 26-32 in the bubble.
You are being cocky. I'm just sitting back and giving everyone a fair shot.
Okay. I'll give you that, but we're gonna go and make our picks there, and they're all going to join in on our group, and that's going to be an awesome look there. Also, on Dribbling Around, we're going to continue with our own picks, so even if our brackets don't go the way they look, maybe we can still accumulate some points for ourselves. So how it's going to work here for our Dribbling Around picks, for every round, it's going to go up an additional points. For the first round, it's going to be 1 point. For the second round, it's going to be 2 points. For the third round, it's going to be 3, and for the finals, it's going to be 4. And then if you guess the series correct, I believe you get, let's say, so-and-so in 6, you get an additional 1 point to your score. Mm-hmm. So an additional 1 point. So that's how it's going to work for.
Yeah. So you'll say Lakers over Blazers or Blazers over Lakers. Whatever. You get the number wrong, you'll still get 1 point. But if you get the number right, you'll get 2 points. And then the second round, you get the series right, you'll get 2 points. But if you get the number right, you'll get 3 points, and so on. So that makes it a little bit easier. And I'm giving myself a little bit of a rejuvenated life. I'm not going to come back in the picks, but a chance to win the bracket challenge.
Just a chance to win the bracket challenge, indeed. And I think you have a chance to get that. You always said you're very good when it comes to playoff ball. And I think we could say that Connor is the Damian Lillard, TJ Warren of outside of VIC onto 1306 radio type of look there, because you've just been so good in the bubble.
Yeah, it's been Dame time, but Dane, are you actually gonna perform, or is it gonna be like a playoff P type of playoff performance?
Hey, listen, I missed my chance when March Madness was canceled because I was so excited to win $1 million from Warren Buffett.
Oh my God.
I was going perfect, and as long as I would just let someone else pick the Big Ten conference because I always got those wrong. I hated that. By the way, Luka Garza. To mention, I know we haven't mentioned this. Luka Garza's coming back to Iowa.
Yes.
Audasumu, Kofi Coburn
is coming back to
Illinois. Big Ten stacked next year.
Stacked. Stacked.
Yeah, playoff basketball though. Who wants to start with their picks?
Yeah. So for our first round, it's going to be identical to our bracket challenge. Mm-hmm. After that, if we have a couple teams get bounced, we might edit some picks on the show just so we can keep playing our picks game. But do you guys want to start in the East or the West? Because the West is going to have some fireworks. Starting in the East? All right.
Start in the East. Okay. And now, are we going to go through our whole bracket here for
Yeah,
our bracket challenge. So we're giving you our finals predictions right here.
Okay.
This is it. This is, oh my goodness. All right, here we go. I just actually
Mine's
giving
blown. Mine's blown. All right, Connor, you want
All
to
right.
start in the East? Well, we'll each go like each round. Don't just go through your whole bracket. You'll do first round, then I'll do first round, then Jayden.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
yeah, of course. So, I mean, our first matchup is the Coach Longstaff-led Milwaukee Bucks versus the Orlando Magic, and I think we're kind of going to be unanimous in this, Bucks in 4. There's just, especially without Jonathan Isaac, the Magic just won't be able to compete.
I'm going Bucks in 5. I'm giving the Magic 1 game.
Okay.
It's the bubble playoffs. We saw the Milwaukee Bucks struggle a little bit in the bubble, if you will, and I think Milwaukee's 100% going to win it, but I'll give the Magic a game.
That's a very
I like Aaron Gordon.
It's a very Jayden-ish pick to get that extra point. But I'm going to go against you. I'm going to go with the Bucks in a sweep. I just think their bench players overall, although they didn't, again, 3-5 in the bubble, I think their bench players will maybe steal a game in the long run because they're going to play Giannis and Chris Middleton. They're going to dominate, obviously. But I'm going to go with the sweep. So, Connor, next series.
So should we go to the 2-7 or down the bracket line and with the 4-5?
Let's go to 2-7. Let's go to
2-7. All right, Toronto, Brooklyn, and this is going to be in the same style for me. I have Toronto in a sweep.
Toronto 5. I think that I'm going Toronto 5. I love them with my whole heart. I love Toronto, but this Nets team looks very good. They played very well in the bubble. Best team basketball we've seen them play. Toronto 5.
Exactly. They play the best team basketball. Toronto in 6. Brooklyn is stealing 2 games against
Okay.
this
6.
That's fine.
Listen, I remember last year in the first round when Orlando stole game 1 because DJ Augustine went off. The Nets are playing better team basketball. That was with Kawhi. The Nets are playing really good team basketball, and Karis LeVert, he's a really good player. If you watched him, he almost knocked Portland out with that jump shot. If he made it, we'd be talking about Phoenix and Memphis in the play-in, not Portland playing the Lakers. So I think they're going to steal 2, and Toronto's going to have maybe a little bit of a few. I think their defense is obviously going to be good, and they could win in 5, but I think they might have some issues on who's going to be that go-to guy in the playoffs. But they'll eventually figure it out, and I have the Raptors moving on in 6.
Okay. Pretty bold, Dane, but no, I gotta
find a way.
I think the Raptors are playing the best team basketball arguably in the entire league, and there's just they don't have that go-to guy, but they have a couple of guys that they know they can count on in those situations, such as Lowry, Siakam, Van Vliet. The Nets, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to really steal even a game from that Toronto defense and Nick Nurse. So I see that maybe there's a game or two that's closer than the others, but I still have Toronto in 4 and not budging on that. So this will probably be the tightest matchup of the first round in this Eastern Conference. But we've got Indiana as the 4 and Miami as the 5.
What do you got?
They just split their bubble games. And TJ Warren was held, I think, he didn't break 20 points after Jimmy Butler was guarding him. I have Miami in 6.
So do I.
I think Miami I just mentioned Toronto's playing arguably the best team basketball. Miami's up there. And if they might even be better than them team-wise, just because they have so many guys and they don't just like Toronto, they don't maybe have that go-to guy, but they have Duncan Robinson who just can't miss from 3. Tyler Herro who's really stepped up. And then obviously you have your stars in Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and a great coach with Eric Spo. And Goran Dragic. How many people were talking about him or even expecting him really to play well in this bubble, and then he just comes out of pretty nowhere.
Forget that.
Oh, yeah. It's just he went to Miami, and people almost, especially this year, they almost just kind of forgot about him as being either that starting point guard or that key piece off the bench. But I have Miami in 6. What about you guys?
I have the same thing. Same reason.
Miami in 7. I have him in 7. I think it's going to be a fight. I listen, you know how I like to say it's going to be a fight. Put that on a T-shirt. It's going to be a fight. You know why? Because there's 2 heads right there between TJ Warren and Jimmy Butler. I think they're going to clash right there. I think we're just going to come on top. It's going to be a very, very evenly matched series. I think it might be one of the most evenly matched in the whole first round. So I'm going to give it to Miami. I said that before. I'll say it again. I think they're a very good team. I think they're very young. I think they will be able to be led by Jimmy Butler. He's been able to do that this whole bubble, and they have all the support behind him. And not only is it Butler, but it's literally that whole team that's young, hungry, excited. And the Pacers, I feel like there's still lingering issues still from even before the bubble, from before COVID. There's still lingering issues. So
that's the bonus, I think, is the difference.
Yeah. So I'm going to give it to Miami in 7.
All right.
Dan, you just mentioned a key player who's out for Indiana. Ben Simmons is not going to be playing in this Boston-Philly series. I personally have Boston in 6. I think Josh Richardson was really heating up towards the end, and his play made me – I initially had Boston in 5. Josh Richardson's play towards the end made me give Philly that extra game, and I just don't think they have an answer for Joel Embiid or even Al Horford if he wants to actually play good for a game or two. So, but still, you got Jaylen Brown, you got Jason Tatum, Kemba Walker too, not to mention Marcus Smart coming off the bench. I just think Boston in 6, they're the better team this year, especially without Ben Simmons for Philly.
Why would I trust Philadelphia? I have Boston in 5. They play great team defense. I've seen them play lackluster at times, but I think they're going to win in 5. And if they don't, and that's a possibility, they could win in 6. But without Ben Simmons, you mentioned Josh Richardson's heating up. Shake Milton had a few good games in the bubble and before COVID-19. Message to you, Joel Embiid. Listen, you lost in 7 to the Raptors last year. You had a great team. J.J. Redick, Jimmy Butler, Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, you name it. You still have Tobias Harris. If you can show up and push this series to 6 and 7 and be the dominant player that you are and show that you're a top 10 player in the league, because he has that potential, that would do worlds for his career. Mm-hmm. If he can show up and push this series to 7 single-handedly or somehow magically find a way to knock off Boston, who some people think are going to win the East. I don't think it's going to happen, but, man, Joel Embiid has an opportunity to let the world know that, hey, I'm not letting my team go down without a fight, and I'm one of the best players in the NBA.
I have Boston 6. I am scared that there will be a Boston sweep, meaning they win in 4.
Yes.
And that's the end of the 76ers as we know it. I think that would be the official end, a first-round exit on a sweep. That would be the official end of the 76ers as we know it. We expect a nuclear explosion of a blow-up for the 76ers, if that's were to happen. And we're counting them out hard right now, and you never – listen, they're a team that went toe-to-toe with the Raptors, and, they almost won if it wasn't for a jump shot from Kawhi. It wasn't for a nice bounce. And listen, if this team can pull it out, and let's say they do beat the Celtics, yeah, obviously a lot of people will be surprised given that there is no Ben Simmons. But if it goes the other way around and if there's a complete dominance by the Celtics, especially those two teams against each other, if there's a complete dominance by the Boston Celtics, I think this is the end of the 76ers as we know it.
Would you say that series is the most likely to have, like, chirpiness in a fight?
I think no, it'd be the Pacers-Miami.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think so. I think there's a good shot between – I think there's a good shot between a lot of teams that there's a fight.
I want to see something between Rockets, OKC.
Yeah, I think Chris Paul and Harden might do some drawing. But honestly, I would have been with Celtics sweep if Josh Richardson didn't turn up. But with him as that extra scoring factor, I think this kind of alleviates the pressure off of Joel Embiid a little bit to where he doesn't have to take every possession he can down to the post, because really they have no one who can stop him. They have Daniel Tyson and Enes Kanter. Those guys aren't doing anything to really even probably limit Joel Embiid to a reasonable output every game of this series. So I think that maybe Richardson and even Tobias Harris, they could have a game or two where they really go off, and in addition to a good Joel Embiid game, they steal a game. But it's just they don't have it this year. Even with Simmons, I think I'd still go Boston in 6 or 7. And I don't know, maybe the 76ers team just seems like a ticking time bomb. When are they going to blow it up? When are they going to just kind of like, you know what, the process didn't go our way. We don't want to just keep running this train down the hill.
And Boston defends so well. They defend the perimeter so well, and I'm not saying that Philly is a great three-point shooting team because they're not. But, yeah, interior defense I think is a problem, and that's the one advantage that Philly might have. But in terms of collectively, I don't think Boston's defense is not going to let them down like that. It's not. To the Western Conference we go. We're going to switch from first round to first round. We're going to start with the 1-8 series, the Lakers and the Trailblazers. I'll start. I have the Lakers in 6, and it was tough for me to do this. And listen, the thing is, though, Portland's defense has been atrocious throughout the bubble, and they found a way to sneak in. Another thing that concerns me, Nurkic was gigantic in rebounding, but they almost lost to Brooklyn and didn't make the playoffs because they couldn't get an offensive rebound, and Jarrett Allen was dominating Nurkic. I get they have Collins and Whiteside, so they may need to play more minutes, but that's where Dwight Howard factors into this series. That's where AD needs to be more of a big man, especially. And you think, well, who's going to guard LeBron and AD? Yes, I don't think anyone can do that. And I think Kyle Kuzma will step up a little bit, that the Lakers will find a way to fight it out in 6. I think every game will be close, though. And the problem with the Lakers is Dame Lillard might average 50 in this series, and that's not something crazy to say. I don't think they can guard Dame and CJ. But
I don't think they can guard Dame,
LeBron
CJ,
and
Melo, Gary Trent, or that's about it. Maybe
I'm going to take LeBron and AD
15
in the
too,
long
but
run. They
what?
led the league in block shots. I'm going to take them in the long run because they'll get enough from Kyle Kuzma, and LeBron's just going to take it up a level because he's not going to lose. You know how much of a hit this would be to his legacy?
Oh, this would be worse than, I would say, any finals loss, maybe with the exception of the Mavs one in the first year with Miami. But
I have Lakers in 6. It's going to be close. It's going to be real close.
Yeah, you said every game is really close. And for that reason, I just have to go with Portland. I think Kyle Kuzma really here's the tipping factor. I have Portland in 7. I think every game is going to be close. But I just look up and down Portland's lineup, and I know they don't play defense well. But you got Dame Lillard, CJ McCollum, Gary Trent Jr., Melo, who's really revitalized his career. You don't really have anyone on LA who can stop that. And I think Nurkic somewhat neutralizes Davis, not to the point where Davis is a non-factor, but I'm just saying, like,
Jared Allen in the fourth quarter.
hey, this is a 7-game series. This isn't one, like, anything can happen. I'm not saying it's like we don't hear from Anthony Davis for 6 or 7 games. I'm just saying, like, maybe Davis has an off game or two where Nurkic just plays better. Not better than Davis, but, like, better than he will in the series. It's just, like, almost an anomaly. But they just have so much scoring factors. Like, I get it. I don't want to bet against LeBron because I know I'm going to look like an idiot because this could easily go Lakers in 4 just because it's playoff LeBron. Just because it's playoff LeBron. That's what we're talking about.
Going against the hottest team going into the
Dame
bubble.
Lillard is on a mission. I don't know if you saw
thing.
rookie Nazir Little's tweet. He said to him in January, looked him dead in the face. He's like, I can't remember the exact words. He's like, you're about to see something crazy. You're about to see something historic. And he looked like he had this mean look. We're about to effing make the playoffs. And they somehow found – now, granted, they got their guys back. They got Nurkic and Collins back. But that man is on a mission. And if he finds a way to beat the Lakers, the rest – I think he's already put the league on notice. But, man, if Dame Lillard were to make a run deep into this year's playoffs, like all the way to the West Finals or the Finals, this would be one of the most crazy runs in NBA history.
And I don't know if this is a prop bet or anything, but I have Kyle Kuzma crying at least once before game. Whether it's Melo or Dame trash talking him, but I have that going.
So at the end of this series.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
All right, Jayden, go ahead. Who's your pick?
I have it going 7, and I have it Lakers in 7. So I 100% have it going 7. I think without a shadow of a doubt. I think both teams are not going to allow themselves to get eliminated before the 4-game 7. And I think LeBron physically wills the team to the next round. Like literally grabs them by the throat and yanks the team to the next round. Like he will not let that team fall. I think it's literally like I love Dame Lillard, but I think when it comes game 7 LeBron, I don't think there's anything that he could do or anything that Portland can do to stop him. I wouldn't be so surprised if he drops literally over 60 points in game 7.
I just want to say this, like, I'm looking through my bracket as I have it right now. I think this is going to be the best matchup in the first 2 rounds.
Yes.
Like,
I don't know.
I think in the West, yes, and also I like in the West, yes, and it means the most to a lot of people because it is the Lakers and it is a Trailblazers underdog story. But if we're talking real,
well, I mean, I have it going 7, and then and then for my next round, I have 3 games going, or I have 3 series going 7 too. So it's like, it's not that this is far and away. I just think like this is
Okay.
probably going to be like the highest prestige of teams going to 7.
Okay.
Like this is going to be the best competition basketball just because it's literally going to be every team trading shots because no one's going to play defense. It's literally just going to be who blinks first.
I think the Lakers will lock up a little bit more than you think, and I think.
No, yeah, I think.
Okay, not saying that Portland offensively is crazy. I'm not getting there. Arguably have the best offensive arsenal in the NBA collectively. Not saying like the best player, but the Lakers, I think a difference. They will get enough stops down the stretch or in the third or second quarter, play good enough defense, and they'll lock up a little bit because they were good defensively. I get they don't have Avery Bradley. They will get enough stops down the stretch, and Dwight Howard, I think, is the X factor in this series.
I think, well, if we're talking X factors, I think it has to be Kuzma because that extra scoring punch, whether it comes or not, that's going to be really the deciding factor.
Too.
What?
Deion Waiters could be a huge one too.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I just think like if the Lakers are going to win it, they need to be able to limit Melo, Gary Trent Jr., and even keep CJ cool for a game or two because Dame couldn't really sit on the bench even against Memphis yesterday or in the play-in tournament and just kind of rest up because they blew that lead pretty quick. So Dame's rest is almost coming on the court whenever CJ is really on, or they can just drive and take it to Melo, knock down a 3, or Gary Trent Jr. can get them buckets. So really, I think if Portland is going to win this game or this series, then they're going to have at least one really good secondary scorer next to Dame in every game. But if the Lakers want to do it, they need Kuzma to score consistently, and they need to be able to shut down Dame's help at least for 1 or 2 games.
They need Kuz for at least a couple games.
Yeah.
I think LeBron and AD can single-handedly pull the weight for at least 3 of those games. They need Kuz to show up in a couple games. I don't think he'll show up, and like you said, his inconsistencies. But, yes, a couple of games, I don't need him to show up in every game, I don't think. Because LeBron, it's LeBron, dude. Don't bet against the man. And I'm not going to do it. I can't. And Jayden, I know you can't either. We could look stupid, and you could be the smart one. But
I mean, hey, we all have this series being like incredibly close game by game. Yeah. So it's not like really if, say, Portland wins, I'm not going to clown you guys because we all know that these two teams, it's a 1-8, but they are neck and neck.
Portland's not an 8 seed with this roster.
Exactly.
We all know that. We all know. Okay, we'll move on. Connor had Portland in 7, Jayden Lakers in 7, I had Lakers in 6. To the 2-7 matchup, Clippers-Mavericks. I had Clippers in 6. I think Luka single-handedly is going to find a way. And I think Kawhi and PG are going to be like, yeah, we can beat these guys, but, kind of be a little bit relaxed in the series. And I think Luka and KP and the Mavericks with Maxi Kleba, they can shoot the 3 with Tim Hardaway. Trey Burke might get hot in a couple games. I think they're going to steal 2 games. But then again, look at the Clippers' depth in the roster. They're not beating them. Clippers in 6. That's all I got.
Clippers in 4. Clippers in 4. Sorry.
Okay.
I need a sweep somewhere in this bracket. I think that's where I found it. So there it is.
That's where you found it. Not Orlando, Milwaukee, not Brooklyn, Toronto.
No.
Dallas.
The East is different from the West. I think Clippers. All right. This is where Terminator Kawhi Leonard turns it on, and this is it. There's no turning back. There's no more load management games here. This is it. It's going to be full-on torture for everybody.
Yeah, I have Clippers in 5. Dane, for kind of the same reasoning, I think Luka is going to be able to steal them a game, especially if like Seth Curry and KP get hot.
Yep.
But I don't think Kawhi Leonard's a machine. No one's going to anticipate or even expect him to just kind of mentally take a game off. And I don't think he's going to hold that standard for the entire team all the way throughout whenever they get eliminated or ultimately win the chip. So I think that if we're looking at how this Clippers team is coming together right now, they're getting Montrezl Harrell just now. They're going to be playing Pat Bev, Lou Will, everyone. This is a 100% Clippers team starting in the playoffs. Luka might eke out a game, and I'm being generous right
I'm going to. I don't know. We'll see. We all have the Clippers winning, obviously. Next series, this one, I'm sure we all have the same pick. Denver, Utah. I went Denver in 5. I think the Jazz will sneak 1 out. This could be a sweep for me, but Denver's look really good in the bubble. Bol, Michael Porter Jr., Jokic. Their third unit played well against the Lakers in crunch time. They finally couldn't close it out in the last 30 seconds, but Jamal Murray's back. Don't know about Will Barton. Nuggets in 5. This one's easy for me.
Yeah, I have a sweep for Denver. I was on the fence between maybe Donovan Mitchell steals them a game. But, I mean, Dan, you mentioned it. Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. is really kind of carving out that big 3 in Denver. Not to mention, you still got Paul Millsap, Jeremy Grant, and Bol Bol's getting minutes too and producing well.
Yep.
Plumlee is going to be a good center off the bench to help keep like Rudy Gobert, even though he's not an offensive factor or really a threat, more or less. They're not going to do anything inside. Like there's going to be way too much pressure and just way too much weight for Donovan Mitchell to carry for really Utah to get any sort of success and momentum in this series.
Jayden.
I have Denver in a boring 7. I know that sounds weird, but I think it goes the distance, but the games aren't fun. It's like I think it goes blowout, and then it just goes to a game. I think that's how I see it. I think it goes to a game 7. Denver takes it, but I think it's a boring 7. It's not a fun one like Portland.
What's your reason for thinking? But Denver's looked so good in the bubble.
I think these two teams, they match up. I think they just match up well. And I know the Nuggets are getting back some players, as you mentioned, but I think they match up well because the center battle's strong, and so is the guard work. The guard work is also very strong. I think they're both just going to go ebbs and flows for both teams. You know, we talk bad about both of these teams. I think if they were going against different people, then I think it's a different story. But since they're going against themselves, I see it going to game 7. I consider them both
I just
almost
have no
the same
faith
type of team.
I have no faith in Conley and Ingles really to step up after a really lackluster bubble kind of season restart.
I know a lot of people are high on these Nuggets, and so am I. But I think when it comes to the playoffs, a lot of things change.
No Bogdanovich either.
It's just I don't see Utah having a really a dependable secondary scoring option.
Exactly.
Okay.
If the Jazz are going to push it to 7, Jordan Clarkson's going to have to average 18 to 20 a game, I think.
Okay.
He's going to have to come off the bench and be a stud.
I didn't say it was going to be a fun 7. I think it's going to be a boring 7. That's how I see it. I don't know if a 7 could be boring, but I think it'll be a boring 7.
All right.
I think that'd be the first.
Last series in the West, this one's going to be entertaining. Thunder, Rockets, it's all about the stars. Harden, Westbrook, they're going to lead their team to 7 games and lose to the Thunder in the 7th game. That's my prediction. I just think too much team basketball. It's going to be a late game situation, and I think this is going to be a giant hit on Harden's legacy because I think it's going to be a crunch time game, and I'm going to go with Chris Paul to make a play, whether it's scoring or finding someone inside or finding Gallinari for a 3. It's going to be tough. The Rockets are scrappy. They're going to find ways to win games, but the Thunder are going to find a way to grind it out.
Yeah, I said my pick in the Georgia interview whenever we were talking about it. I have OKC in 6, and I thought about maybe going 5 just because Westbrook probably not going to be ready for the beginning of the series.
That's
who knows what?
Forgot about that.
Yeah. So, but no, it's just I'm not sure when he'll be back. I'm not going to discredit James Harden, though. One of the greatest scorers in today's game. That's why I'm still giving Houston 6 games to lose. But OKC, great team ball. So many scores. You got CP3, SGA. Dennis Schroeder just came back in that last game against the Clippers. And even though it was in a losing effort, he produced well. So he's going to be right back in the mix. They just have too many factors. I think Steven Adams is going to have a monster game here or there. And even though I was a big Rockets small ball supporter, I was really hoping they weren't going to get this pull in the playoffs just because OKC really is the team that they're one of those teams that can neutralize the small ball just because A, they have so many scoring factors offensively, and B, their big man is not dependent with the ball in his hands.
Yes. And they have guys on the perimeter that can defend. Gallinari can a little bit. SGA is a good defender.
Not to mention Lou Dort and Andre Robertson are both back. And Andre Robertson's
you have long athletic wings that can neutralize a Robert Covington or a Daniel House or limit how many threes PJ Tucker gets in the corner. But Jayden, you going with a clean sweep here? You got the Thunder?
Got the Thunder, OKC in 6. I said this a while back. The small ball, it works. It works, but that works in the regular season. I don't think it works in the playoffs. I would. If it does and the Rockets do win the series, I wouldn't be surprised. But I don't think it works in a 7-game set. 3-game set, maybe, if that's how the playoff system worked. And if this was March Madness, we could see them win the whole thing because just people get lucky like that.
Yes.
But in a 7-game set against the same team 7 times in a row, I think you see it too much, and I give it to OKC.
That you took the words out of my mouth. The Rockets in any one game could win because of their star power.
Mm-hmm.
When you see the same small ball lineup over a 7-game series, especially with a coach like Billy Donovan, they're going to make adjustments. They're going to make adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to find a way to beat that. Maybe Harden and Westbrook will prove us wrong, specifically Harden. But if they lose to Chris Paul, this is going to be a hit to their legacy. Both of them. Especially if Westbrook comes back.
tough fall in Houston, Texas after trading Chris Paul and
Getting
thinking
beat
that,
by
hey,
him
we
in the
finally
first
have the right
round.
piece and all those picks with Chris Paul too, and just to get bounced by him and the team he traded him to.
All right. Back to the East semifinals. Milwaukee, Miami. Connor, you can take over the East, but you can pick first.
Yeah, so I thought a long time about this pick. And Jane, you weren't on this episode, but one of my hot takes was Miami makes it to the Eastern Conference or even wins the East, I think.
Wow.
And the more I think about it, the more I have trouble picking against Miami in this matchup. I have Miami in 7. I think
Ooh. Okay.
that
Continue.
You're gonna be surprised because mine is different.
you do
I
not
know
have
yours is
Milwaukee
way
in 4.
different.
4.
Really?
No,
Giannis
Jayden,
comes-
don't do that.
No, I'm doing it. I'm 100% doing it. The Miami here. I said they're gonna come off a 7-game set against the Pacers, who are they're gonna kill each other. I think there's gonna be blood. They're gonna kill each other, and then they're gonna have now walk into another buzzsaw, which is the Milwaukee Bucks. I think there's gonna be no more left for the Miami Heat as soon as they get to the Bucks. I think it's from.
I think that's a good point. You're making a good point.
And Giannis coming off a suspension on a mission. Everyone's coming from his throat for whatever reason. Everyone's coming for Giannis's throat nowadays. Now he's ready to kill people. So
Listen,
I think Giannis.
I think that's a good point with the rest thing because you think Milwaukee's going to dominate. Miami's going to have a much tougher first round series. But if you look at it matchup wise, Coach Longstaff, he mentioned that the top 3 in field goal percentage defense around the rim are Giannis, Brook Lopez, and Robin Lopez. They're good defensively, very good defensively. Chris Middleton can shoot it. DiVincenzo has been a nice piece. George Hill does a lot. But if I had to pick, I have Milwaukee in 7, by the way. If I had to pick one guy to really, it's top 3 to maybe guard Giannis, I would pick Bam Adebayo, and a lot of people would say that. And hold on. You look at Miami's offense. You mentioned that field goal percentage defense. Miami prides themselves off shooters. They move themselves off the ball.
There's no way
They don't need to challenge them. They have Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero. They can shoot their way to Game 7, but the difference is Giannis is going to go crazy and not let them loose.
If this was a first-round matchup and they're playing each other straight up, I would agree with you maybe 6 or 7. I would agree with you it would be a good fight. But I think I'm going off my storyline, my bracket, from what we're going to see between the Pacers and Miami, I think that one's going to –
They've had so much rest anyway.
But they're about to run through a 7-game set against 2 teams that they already seen twice, and now they're going to see them again, and now they're going to be more ready to kill each other.
I think you're
because they split. I think the Bucks are going to
be
be ready to kill somebody, and then they're going to have them against
Miami's been killing people the entire bubble though. That's the thing.
Understood, but they just split with the Pacers, and now they're about to go into a 7-game set against the Pacers. I have them going 7 games against these 2 teams. I'm saying they're going to walk, and obviously they're going to be in the bubble, but they're going to walk into a team like Milwaukee. They're going to get them destroyed. That's how I see it. I don't see them then running another 7-game set, and then you say winning it. No,
that's the biggest discrepancy we've had.
I think, yeah.
Connor, you can move to the next series. We'll talk about that.
So I have this one in another 7 games. Boston, Toronto. I have Toronto at getting the edge.
Ooh, give me why. Give me why.
Well, I just think that I think Gordon Hayward. I know he's leaving in the bubble sometime soon for family reasons, so I'm not sure if it's going to be at this point or not. But I just think Toronto's kind of had their number per se, and Pascal Siakam. I think he's going to really do well defensively, especially when it was matched up against Jason Tatum. That's going to be star on star, and I think defensively Siakam has the edge. And whenever you kind of look outside that matchup, are you taking Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker, and Marcus Smart, or are you taking Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, and literally like the next 4 players off that Raptors bench? I think Brown, even though I'm a big fan of his and I think he's underrated, he had a couple of duds that really sank the Celtics in some of those games in that 8-game restart. I think Smart, he can be a good spark player in this series for a couple of games, but I don't think he's going to be an X factor for this team. If we're looking at X factors for each team, I'm looking at the point guard duo for Toronto of VanVleet and Lowry, and then I'm looking at Kemba Walker. Really, I think this matchup is going to be decided by those 2 guys who can outduel each other.
Yeah, and here's the difference. I have it going 7, and I have the Celtics. Frankly, because last year, and I get Siakam, a lot of their players have gotten better, but last year it was the Kawhi shot that led them to it. Do they have a guy that I trust that is going to do it for them this year? Because Boston defensively is good like Toronto. They dismantled Toronto in the bubble earlier in one of those games. They're very familiar opponents. They're in the same division. And Boston, I feel like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, I think they're going to have a relatively, like you said, they may sweep Philly. I don't know. I have them in 5. It's going to come down to it. And in crunch time, I'm going to trust Boston. It's going to be a tight series, and credit to Nick Nurse. And if Toronto wins it, I'm not going to be shocked. But I think the difference is going to be Jason Tatum in the end. Jason Tatum, or actually, no, it's not going to be Jason Tatum. It's going to be Jaylen Brown, because it's going to be a battle between Siakam and Tatum. I think Jaylen Brown's going to step up in the end, because I don't think it's going to be the inside difference, because Marc Gasol, Daniel Tice, Enes Kanter, that's not really much. And the backcourt's going to be interesting between Kemba and Kyle Lowry, and I'll give Toronto the advantage there. But Jason Tatum, Siakam locked up, but I think I'm not going to trust a Norman Powell or an OG Anunoby to lock up Jaylen Brown the whole series, and that's why I got to go with Boston.
I'm going Toronto in 6. Shocker indeed. I'm surprised. You should be surprised I even have it going to 6, but that's because I do respect Boston. I think they play very great basketball, and the only reason I really give Toronto this edge is because they lost Kawhi Leonard, obviously, in the offseason. And now look where they are. They're still in the 2 seed, and they're still pushing for a playoff spot. And then they're still pushing for a finals push because they are just that good. And that Nick Nurse-led team, I think, is almost unstoppable in this bubble. I think almost unstoppable, almost. It depends on how things go, how many games they play down the line, how tough things get, if they stay good with injuries, everything like that. But if everything stays steady, this Toronto team can go very far.
Back to the Western Conference we go. I had the Lakers winning the first round series. They'd be playing the Thunder. The Lakers, I know, have done very well against the Thunder in the regular season. The Thunder beat them up pretty good in the bubble. But LeBron's going to come off that tough series, and single-handedly, the Thunder play great team basketball. But again, I have the Lakers in 6. I was very upset about them. I'm not trusting them. But even though they beat the Nuggets, and it was against their third team, and Kyle Kuzma made that shot, that gave me some confidence, and I think that gave the Lakers some confidence. And I don't mean to bounce back opinions, but I don't think, like I said, Dwight Howard's going to be a huge factor in the Portland series. I don't think it's going to be him. I think it's going to be Kyle Kuzma is going to be more important in the second round series. And I think Steven Adams could arguably hold AD more than Nurkic. But I do have the Lakers in 6. And I think Waiters is going to be a big factor in that series. But I think it'll just be – the Lakers will find a way to play better defense in that series because they just saw Portland, who has such a great offensive arsenal, and I'm not saying OKC doesn't. They're in the playoffs. They're probably going to win their first-round series. They're a great team too. But I think their defense will step it up in the next round. And I think Kyle Kuzma would be more the X factor in that series where Dwight Howard would be the one in the first series. And I think Gallinari would have to be it for the Thunder. It would be Gallinari would have to step up and get like 20-plus in 3 games.
I also have –
Jayden, go ahead.
Okay. I also have Lakers in 6 for very similar reasons, but it's a boring 6. That's how I see it. It's not going to be a drama. Like yes. The Lakers fans shouldn't be nervous if once it heads to the game 6. So they shouldn't be nervous. It just ended up dropping 2 games here and there. It's a boring 6. I think the Lakers take this one, and then they get ready for the Western Conference Finals.
Connor, you have Portland and OKC.
I have Portland and OKC.
Yep.
And I actually have OKC winning this in 7, even though I just said Portland has all these scores, but we highlighted whenever we were talking why OKC is going to beat Houston. They have so many perimeter defenders. They have what LA doesn't have defensively. They have guys that could possibly contain Dame, CJ. Chris Paul's still good defensively. SGA, good range defender. Then you bring in Lou Dort, who has been getting starting minutes for them from game to game. Andre Robertson has been getting work back into the rotation, and he's no longer an offensive liability. Like, he's shown that he can shoot now, at least somewhat averagely, from 3 from the corner. And I just think that, yeah, Dame's probably going to have like a couple 40 pieces, maybe even a 50 burger. But if there's really if there's two teams that I think can stop this Portland team, it's OKC and the Clippers, solely because of what they have defensively that matches up not so well, because I don't think really anyone matches up well against Dame and CJ, but they can somewhat contain them better than the other teams in the league.
I think I think Steven Adams would be huge in that series too.
I think he will too. I think him and Nurkic are really going to battle out well. And this, trust me, this is not like, I'm still pissed at Portland for last year. No, this is like new team, new everything. I just think that really on paper, this OKC team matches up well on both ends of the court.
The one thing I would combat against that, if Dame somehow finds a way to beat LeBron, AD, and the Lakers,
that's the thing, because
and then goes down to Chris Paul and the Thunder, it just doesn't seem like the storybook, like the script. It just doesn't fit the script, right? If Dame finds a way to beat the Lakers, I would think he'd lose to the Clippers, but you would think he'd beat the Thunder, right?
No, yeah, and even if he did beat the Thunder, I'd probably still have them losing to the other LA team. But it's just, that's kind of what I was battling. Like, okay, I just had them beating the Lakers. Why do I have OKC beating them? But I mean, what does OKC have that LA doesn't have? Perimeter defense. What do you need to beat?
I'm telling you, the Avery Bradley thing. And also, I think Rondo could come back in that series.
In what, the first or the second round?
The second round.
Okay.
That's why I think that'll help their offense as well. I'm not sure. He's in the bubble now. It might take some time, but he helps offense. He helps the offense a lot. And I think he could come back in that series. Down part of the bracket in the West. Clippers, Nuggets. I said the Mavericks are going to push them to 6 because they're going to kind of be relaxed. They kind of know they're going to win the series, but Luka's going to steal a couple games along with KP, Tim Hardaway. Clippers are going to step it up. They're saying, okay, it's getting game time. Clippers in 5. Clippers in 5.
I have 6.
Same reason.
Okay. Just because, I mean, I gave Dallas 5. Denver is obviously a better team than Dallas. And I just think they don't really have an answer for Jokic. Maybe he has a really good game or two that can steal him. Maybe MPJ complements him with a nice 28-game, 30-point game. But, yeah, I mean, Clippers are going to be the better team in the 7-game series literally anytime you run this simulation.
I think the Nuggets have one good game, like one really solid game, maybe like the third game. They come out, and it's just like, oh, there's the Nuggets. And they ball – they just ball out. And I think they have one really good game, and that's it.
All right. To the East, back we go. Eastern Conference Finals. Connor, you have the Heat and the Raptors. You can take it away.
I have the Heat and the Raptors, and kind of similar to how the West, I have a team knocking off the 1 seed but then losing in the next round. I have Toronto winning the East. And I say that because when you look at these teams, they're arguably the 2 best basketball teams in the entire league. I just think that Toronto has that experience. Even though Kawhi is obviously not on the roster, he's over in the Clippers. I think they have that experience, not just players, but coaching staff too. I think Van Vliet, Lowry, I keep mentioning those 2 guys because they're the X factors for this team. Everyone knows how good Pascal Siakam is now. Marc Gasol is he's gonna match up well against Bam Adebayo. Here's the thing. Bam, like Gasol, no one's expecting him to put up these offensive numbers. Defensively, though, he's still a good rim protector. And
athleticism.
Athleticism, yeah, but Gasol has still always been a good.
Let's not get into that. But
good interior defender. I just think this series is incredibly close, and as close as it is. I almost want to put it to 7, but I have to give Toronto the edge. I think Toronto maybe has a blowout or 2, but the other 5 games are going to be like neck and neck, 6-game point differential max.
Interesting. Jayden, go ahead.
I have Bucks
Toronto.
and Toronto, and I'm going to have to go with Toronto. And I have to apologize to Coach Longstaff, my boy, stay warm. But still, listen, I just cannot overlook this Toronto team.
How many
They're
games
here for a reason. I have them in 7. 7 games. This is going to be also one of the most exciting series in Eastern Conference Finals. And these 2 teams, everyone's expecting the Bucks to come out on top because they're the Bucks. They got Giannis there. He's MVP. They have all these pieces around him. And, if the Bucks win it, will I be upset? Sure. But could it happen? 100%. It's going to a Game 7. That's at least how I see it. But I think this team is just too good. I know the names aren't as big as Giannis and LeBron and all these names, but you don't need that. I really don't. I think this Toronto team is going to prove that you don't need these names to win these championships. If you have a good head coach like Nick Nurse that can take you from at one point everyone believing that they might not even they'd be at the bottom. I wouldn't say that at one point they believed they would be out the playoffs, but they believe would be the 6-7 seed in the East without Kawhi. And now look what happened. Now they're at the 2 seed. So I said it before, I say it again. They're going to make a big push.
I have Boston and Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference Finals, and I have Milwaukee in 6. I think Giannis is going to get it done. I think Boston is going to be mentally a little bit drained from that series with Toronto because I think that's going to be so tight. And like I said, I mentioned how you thought Miami would beat them because they have so many shooters and Milwaukee's good inside. Well, that's going to be the difference. It's going to be the interior. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown can only push so far, and I mentioned Jaylen Brown I think is going to be the difference in the Toronto series. But take a look at Milwaukee's inside presence, and that includes Giannis. I know he's stretching out his game. And is Cantor Daniel Tice? No. And Chris Middleton didn't do enough of the guard play and hit enough threes, and George Hill make enough smart plays. So I have Milwaukee in 6 and making the NBA Finals. It makes it. If you had Milwaukee and Boston in the series, I know you picked Toronto to go to the.
Oh East. Yeah, I would go Milwaukee 100% over Boston. Yeah, well, shot of a doubt. Yeah, Milwaukee over Boston, but I think that, as I said, the Raptors are too well coached, and they're playing too well of a team basketball-oriented game to lose to the Bucks. And I would be surprised if the Raptors won in 5 or 6. I would be shocked out of my mind if they won in 5 because the Bucks are that good. Bucks are a great team, but I say 100% going to 7.
Would you have the Bucks over the Celtics, Connor?
I would have the Bucks over the Celtics in a heartbeat. I think I would be tempted to even pick the Bucks in 5.
No. I think
I would pick the Bucks early if
I would pick 5, 6 max.
Celtics.
That series is not going 7 in my mind.
No way.
To the West, 100%. Back we go. I'm going to start. I've said this over and over again. I found a way to sneak my Lakers in the Western Conference Finals, but I said it from the start. The Clippers are going to beat them, and I'm going to go with 6 games. I think LeBron's going to push them to a couple wins, but it's the depth. It's always been that. It's Lou Williams. It's Montrezl Harrell. They're not going to have Avery Bradley. They're not going to be able to defend that pick and roll off the bench. They have PG and Kawhi are going to do enough. You take a look, Pat Bev's going to pest enough people. Landry Shamet's going to hit some threes. By that time, Kawhi, he already went termination mode, robot mode, and just took over last year's playoffs. And the Lakers, they would need Kyle Kuzma to probably go off every single game because the Clippers just have that multitude of scores. And when they lock down, Kawhi and PG are 2 of the best defenders in the game. To go along with Marcus Morris, they can limit LeBron's scoring enough. But I still think he's going to pull the team to a couple wins. And I got to go with the Clippers, man. They top to bottom, they're just the better team.
I also have the Clippers in 6, but for a slightly different reason. Mostly for agreeing with you, but for a different reason. If it does get to 7, the Lakers win it. That's how I see it. If it's Clippers need to win it before. Clippers need to win it before game 7. That's all I gotta say. If the Clippers win it before game 7, they're good. If it goes to a game 7. Lakers got it. Hands down. That's how I see it.
I agree with you, but playing devil's advocate, we have seen Kawhi come up huge.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we have seen Kawhi
performing.
We have seen it. But we've seen it 1,000 more times out of LeBron.
Yeah, because he's
So I say Clippers. I think that my official is Clippers in 6. That's my official. But if it goes to a game 7, the Lakers are gonna win.
Well,
my bracket's going to say Clippers in 6. My bracket's going to say Clippers in 6. But I'm letting y'all know right now, if it goes to a game 7 and it's Lakers-Clippers, the Lakers have it.
All right, Connor, you have Thunder Clippers. You better be going with who I think you're going with.
Yeah, I am, and I have OKC pushing it to 6. So maybe if I'm not a Thunder fan, I'd say Clippers in 5. But they get this far. They've really evolved. Like, you've seen a ton of player development throughout this bubble. Lou Dort, Andre Robertson, and even Darius Bazley, their first-round pick, has had a couple of 20-point games. I'm not saying that they're going to destroy the Clippers in any other wins. I think they're going to eke out those 2 wins, and they might get blown out for a game. But this Clippers team, they just can't handle a full Kawhi, Paul George-led attack. But here's the thing. And I know even if he does show up, if playoff P, as we know him, if he shows up, I'm still picking Clippers, maybe in 7. But Paul George is this X factor for this Clippers team because we all know how he plays in the playoffs. We all know how he thinks he plays in the playoffs. If he can actually perform like how regular season Paul George does, then this really shouldn't even be an argument. Clippers should pretty much breeze through Dallas, Denver, whoever they play in the Western Conference Finals, although I think the Lakers would give them a really good battle. And then just going into the finals picks, because we all made our picks, I have the Clippers in 6 over Toronto. I just think that at this point they're going to be.
You went with the Lakers before the bubble. You were a Lakers. You went with the Lakers.
Yeah, because I
don't blame you for.
They looked really flat.
I don't blame you.
And also they just drew the worst possible first round matchup. Like this is the worst team if you're the Lakers to be heading into as your iffy in the bubble.
If they were going against the Grizzlies right now, I think that my bracket's completely different.
Oh, of course, yeah, because that's almost just like a warm-up game, I think, for the second round, or a warm-up series for the second round. Even if they're playing Phoenix.
Yeah.
Even
if they are playing Phoenix, bracket's completely different that they're going against.
No, back to my finals pick, I have Clippers in 6. I want to give Toronto maybe 7 or even the series so badly. But and again, my prediction is all literally based off of how Paul George performs. If we get MVP or even anything close to that Paul George, I don't think anyone would really disagree with my pick. But if we get playoff P, my bracket's out the window.
Toronto in 7 for opposite reason. Obviously, I'm going to say Clippers going to win it. I've been going through this whole thing, talking all this great things about the Raptors and pull a Dane and then pick the other team. No, going to go with the damn Raptors. They're going back-to-back championships. And, he's in shock and awe. But I love this Clippers team. I think they're really cool. But I'd say Toronto in 7.
Whenever I was weighing this pick, as I see Kawhi and Siakam, and they don't necessarily cancel out because Kawhi obviously has the edge, but it's like, let's just kind of push them to the side and forget about them because that's obviously going to be the matchup to watch. Then you're looking at, okay, you got Van Vliet and Lowry, but then the Lakers have Paul George. Who's going to outshine the other?
I think when it comes to this playoffs, when it comes to these, and then, you said about Paul George, but then again, he has been able to prove for a while.
Exactly. That's a huge risk.
Exactly. You look at this Raptors team, and you talk about depth, man. Both teams have great depth, and that's why I think they match up so well. That's why I say it's going to 7. It's going to be a drag them out, and I think the Raptors come out.
And just to add on, Paul George, he played with Russell Westbrook, and last year he was clearly the best player on that team, obviously the MVP candidate, but had some shoulder issues down the stretch, and then he just absolutely choked against Utah. This is probably the first time where he won't be counted on for the team in the playoffs. Kawhi is obviously going to have that weight on his shoulders, and Kawhi won't mind. Can Paul George really produce without having the entire pressure, the entire weight of that team on his back? Do
you think it'll make it easier for him or harder?
I think it'll make it easier just because, okay, I know that Kawhi is going to be able to give me buckets. Yeah, Russ wasn't really the best shooter, and he had some injury problems too down the stretch last year, and that OKC team against Utah was just a mess. I think really this is the first time where Paul George is going to be okay, I don't really have to have all these eyes looking on me because
I feel like he's a guy that likes that, though. He likes that spotlight, Paul George. I mean, I'm not in a selfish way, but he likes the moment to be on him and give me that ball. I want to take that final shot.
That when he has had the spotlight on him at this stage.
That's true. I'm going to make my pick. I think you all know where I'm going. I had Clippers Bucks. I have Clippers in 6. Mainly because
so you're both going with the Clippers.
Wow. Okay, you got to give me credit. I've been with the Clippers since.
Yeah, you've been with the whole way, 100%. Yeah, I'll give you that. But both of y'all going with the Clippers.
But I'm going with them, frankly, because take a look. Giannis is on a mission. If he makes the finals, great. But I'm not going with him over playoff Kawhi and Paul George. I think Paul George, like you mentioned, he's going to be the X factor, and it's pretty much Giannis, Kawhi. Giannis might outperform Kawhi, but is Chris Middleton going to outperform Paul George?
That's the thing. There's so many question marks, variables with this Clippers
and Pat Connaughton going to outperform Lou Wiz and Montrezl Harrell. And by that time, I think both team defenses will be locked down. It's going to be a tight series, and Milwaukee's going to fight their way because they have a good team. They play good team basketball. But overall, I said it from the beginning. The Clippers defense to go along with 2 studs in crunch time from the start. No team is better than them, top to bottom. And it's not and I don't have any questions about him. I have a question about Paul George, and that'd be a big question if they didn't have a Kawhi. because we've seen I'm not the first championship he won a Finals MVP, but he was with Tim Duncan. I get it. But we saw him. I get it was not KD last year, but we saw him come up big and pretty much like push the Raptors to the title last year. So that's why I'm like, if you have the question about Paul George, I still think Kawhi will take over.
And here's another thing. I think towards the end of that finals run, Kawhi was clearly not 100%. Now, I'm not going to go out and say, I don't.
Now.
That's the thing. But can he stay that way? And I hate being that guy because I hate it whenever I see people on television, on whatever, say, I don't think he can stay healthy. Like, health should not really be something that we can predict.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
However, it has to be a variable whenever you're kind of like looking.
It's a variable.
And I don't want to give too much weight to it just because there is no given whatsoever. Like, he could easily just coast through this entire playoffs and play 100%, or he could tweak something in the first round, and we don't see a good playoff Kawhi at all whatsoever.
That's why I have Dallas in 6 in the first round, because I don't think they're going to go as hard. They'll go hard, but they won't go as hard. And it's different last year because they had Toronto, Orlando, and Orlando stole game 1, and it's a different matchup. Luka's dangerous. He's going to push them hard, but I think Kawhi is going to not have to go crazy to beat the Mavericks in the first round. I don't think he'll have to go crazy to beat the Nuggets. I don't even think he'll have to go crazy to beat the Lakers. But the one series I think he'll have to go off is the Milwaukee series. And I think he's going to do it. Kawhi wins his 3rd Finals MVP. Don't get me wrong. If Paul George wins it, won't be surprised because he doesn't. Paul George, now, I get he was with Russ last year, but he was 3rd in the MVP voting. He was the best player on OKC last year. Am I right, Connor?
Oh, of course, yeah.
So he's got Kawhi on his team now, and I get that whole Twitter beef with Dame. Where's the pressure on Paul George now? There isn't any, really. If you think about it, yes, he hasn't performed in the playoffs. I get that. But he's with such a talented team. He's with a guy that has a championship pedigree. He's with a team that has a lot of perimeter defenders that plays good defense like he does. He can just go out there and be Paul George that he's been throughout the
And you talk about both of these teams. You talk about the Clippers, right? And you say, pressure. And there's all these narratives and storylines. There is no narrative and storyline with the Raptors. Yeah, they won last year, but the narrative is that they lost a guy, and now they're still playing exactly the same.
They lost the guy, and now they're trying to beat him.
They're gonna, and I think they'll be able to beat him. I think they'll 100% be able to.
I will say that storyline would be crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I wrote this whole thing like I'm booking professional wrestling. Man. I got the whole storyline panned out. It's looking nice. I think this is great booking over here by me. And Toronto to come out and win it 2 times. Drake is gonna be very excited. I think Drake will be.
But I just hopefully. I have trouble believing because Kawhi was the best player for Toronto.
Yeah.
So. How come you think the Raptors really got that much better to beat arguably – because this year's Clippers team is better than last year's Raptors team, in my opinion.
Uh-huh. But I think I think they're better coached, 100%, the Raptors team. Yeah, I say that.
I would take the Raptors coaching over the Clippers.
Yeah. And they've had issues coming into the bubble. And I know a lot of it had to do with COVID related, but I won't really get into that. But they had issues going into the bubble, and they've been consistent, if you will. But is that consistent level going to spike hard enough to beat the Toronto's consistent level? I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I'm gonna have to look.
And also, I'm sorry, I apologize, but the Raptors, they have a tough road to get to the finals. They have to pass in my bracket. They have to pass the Clippers and they have to pass the Bucks, and then they have to go against the Clippers. I think playing those 2 teams back to back is a great push in the butt going against the Clippers.
I think you're contradicting yourself then because Miami.
I'm not contradicting, and I'm not. No, opposite. Because now you look at how I have the Clippers going. I have them beating Dallas in 4. I have them beating the Nuggets in 5, and then they have their first real series against the Lakers where they have to rev it up. I think Toronto's been revving it up the whole way.
But my thing is that you're saying that in the Miami-Indiana series, you're saying
different story, completely different story, completely different.
You think
different storyline? Different story. Completely
No.
different story. Because it's completely differently coached, a different coach team, and it's a different type of games. I'm not saying that Toronto and Boston are slugfights. I'm saying they're good basketball games. I'm saying Miami Pacers, that those are elbows brawls. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, I'm trying to clarify your point. You're saying Miami is going to be in a slugfest, so
I'm saying Miami
worse for Milwaukee, but Toronto's playing good teams. It's not going to
Yes, I'm saying they're going to get pushed in the butt to the moon because they're playing good teams. They're playing good basketball. Miami Pacers, I have them going 7 games because it's literally going to be a slug fight. I see broken ribs. I see people dogging each other. That's how I see it.
Maybe.
That's how hard I think that series is going to be.
I think the end of it is going to be the Clippers will have an easier road, and I think because that's more important.
I think the easier road is going to hurt them. That's how I see it.
Oh no!
Yes, I see the easier road going to hurt them.
They have Kawhi Leonard.
I understand that, but they're going to have to rev it up against the Lakers. I think it might be too late. The Toronto Raptors are ready for them. I think they'll be ready for the Clippers when they come. And and then they're going to want to beat Kawhi. I think it's too.
These are official, unofficial. We have till tomorrow to change it, and I'm going to.
No, these are locked in. These are.
I'm doing my.
We recorded it. It's like there's no going back. These are locked in.
I'm not changing my finals pick at all. I'm going with Milwaukee and the Clippers, but I'm going to do my research on Gordon Hayward to see if I need to pick Toronto, because if not, Toronto over Boston because I had that in 7. If he is leaving, then I'm going to pick Toronto, and I'll still have Milwaukee over Toronto in 6. Nothing else is going to change.
Dane, you know our motto here at Dribbling Around. We do our research. So the fact that you just admitted that you didn't, and now you want maybe I'll go do it and I'll change my pick. I'm not tempted to give you that now.
Due date for their 4th child.
Well, it's gonna be somewhere around like a timeline. There has to be some idea. It's not like it's some Joe Schmo. It's an NBA player.
I'll give him a call.
Okay, give him a call. Let him know.
I'll give him a call. Hold on.
I'll Google it right now.
Hold on one sec.
Hello, this is Gordon Hayward.
This is Gordon Hayward. Hey, man, when's your wife's due date?
It's going to be around the second round, yeah.
The second round? Oh, so when you guys play Toronto?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're going to lose in 6, though, so.
Hey, oh man, that's some confidence, man. That's I thought you would have a lot more confidence than that. Why do you think you're gonna lose to Toronto?
Well, it's like a trendy pick, and I'm not gonna.
You're betting against your own team. Do I have to report this to Adam Silver?
No, I'm betting for the better team in 6.
All right, this sounds like my friend Connor. I don't know who the hell you are, so I'm gonna hang up. All right, see ya. See ya.
Sorry, I had to take that real quick.
Oh, sorry.
Did you hear my call, Connor?
No, what happened?
Oh, I called Gordon Hayward. He bet against the Celtics.
Well, I mean, any smart person would. What games did he say?
He said Toronto in 6. In the second round.
Great minds think alike.
Right around the second round. I don't know, dude. Sounded like it was a mirror image of you.
I don't know. Like me and him, I've been told I look and sound identical to Gordon Hayward. So.
No, you don't. You're not as good looking as Gordon. I'm kidding.
Oh, wow.
You're good looking. Gordon Hayward's he's a man. You're a boy. We're all boys. No, I'm kidding.
No, we are 3 young men.
3 young
suck
men
at playing basketball, but love to talk it.
Exactly.
Give us a follow.
Check out our bio. Give us a follow.
What did I just hear? I had like a stroke. From what I've heard, I've just read on the internet, it said it's supposed to coincide with the Eastern Conference Finals. That's when the due date is.
I'll keep
we got to do our research and see if his wife has been early at all with her due dates.
All right.
She's got to like cross-compare everything.
All right. That's it for Dribbling Around. I'm done. Good night. Good evening. I don't even know when you're watching this. Oh, my God.
Yeah, just keep an eye out for IG Lives later in the week. We might do that. We might try and get 2 or all 3 of us on if we can. And then hopefully tune in next week. I don't know if we'll have next round of playoffs, but we'll be ready to look at all the games that happened. And no more Gordon Hayward talk, too. So
no more Gordon Hayward, please.
No more Gordon Hayward.
Give us your wife's due date, please, on the exact
Raptors in 7.
Picks.
Let's go Nurse.
7.
Let's go Siakam.
Just kidding. I hope she has a safe and healthy birth. And they name their child Gordon Jr. or whatever. Peace out.
Name it Jayden.
Oh, it's his daughter?
You can name it also Jayden.
Yeah.
Okay. Name it
You can
Jayden.
go both ways.
All right. Dribbling around.
Peace.
Connor Glenn, Jayden Becker, Dane Richardson. Peace out.
Play our bracket challenge.